This is our Microsoft Visual Studio's 2010 C++ project. My name is Josh Davidson, and I did the tractor.
My name is Joel Frank. My program is on a meat grinder.
And my name is Rodney Boer, and I programmed for a China doll.
We decided to show you Joel's grinder because it is the easiest project to visually explain to you. The grinder is broke down into three sections: the grinder unit, the stand, and the catch pan.
The main body unit, the grinder, is the grinder body, the sleeve, the knife, the grinder plate, handle bolt, handle, and the meat auger. And this is all in 3 levels. The meat grinder is first level, stand, the grinder unit, and the catch pan are the second level, and then the following, which I have described part of, is the 7 parts of the grinder unit, and then there's the parts of the stand, which we will now show you in a program.
This is the ending debug from what you will come out with in the end. And now Joel will take over and explain to you the exact coding.
Okay, to create this meat grinder, we wound up with 17 separate items. Each has its own header and CPP file, and then we have our test the meat grinder CPP file, which has our main in it, which runs the program. We start by making a simple cout statement that says what is going to take place, and then we go into the functions that actually assemble. Initially we assemble the meat grinder. So the first thing we do is say that the stand is mounting, and then we call our mount function, which is contained in the meat grinder. We have a mount function, and the function definition for that calls another function within the stand, which is called secure, which in turn calls a function. And the first call there is a function that is in the lever unit, and that function is called rotate down, and that is where we see out that the lever is down. Then going back to the stand, the next function is in the rubber bottom, and that function is called stuck. And if we go to that function definition, is where we see out that the stand is secure. Then going back to the meat grinder, the next thing that takes place is we say that the grinder unit is attaching to the stand. The first part attached the stand to the table. The second part assembles the grinder unit to the stand, and we again state what is going to take place. The grinder unit is attaching to the stand, and then if we go to the meat grinder, we have another function called connect, and that function definition calls a function, another function in the stand, which is attach. And going to that one, the attach function definition calls a function in the stand bolt called tighten, and the function definition there outs that the stand bolt is tightened to the grinder unit. The last part of the assembly, again, we state what is going to take place, which is placing the catch pan in position, and that, again, we have a function called place pan that is in the meat grinder, and that function definition calls a function in the catch pan called position. And if we go to that, the function definition of position is that the catch pan is in position. Now going back to our test file, at this point we have assembled the meat grinder. Now we have to simply make a statement that we are placing chunks of raw meat into the grinder body. And we are now we make another statement that says we are ready to grind some meat, and then we call the function of our meat grinder called grind meat, and that function definition, actually I'll show you that in our H file of the meat grinder. Our last function is called grind meat, and that function definition calls a function in the grinder unit called grind. Going to that, you can see that in our grinder unit H file we have a function called grind, and the function definition of the grinder unit's function called grind, the first is right here, and the first thing it does is calls a function that's contained in the handle called crank. Going to that, the function definition of that outs that the handle is cranking. Then going back to the grinder unit, the next thing that takes place is it calls a function of the meat auger, which is called spin. And in the meat auger spin function, the function definition sees out the statement that the meat auger is turning and pulling meat into the grinder unit. Then once again, going back to the grinder unit, the next thing that takes place is a function is called from the knife called cut. And if we look at that, the knife H file has one function in it called cut, and the function definition of that says that the meat is being pushed through the knife and cut into very small pieces. Then going back to the grinder unit, the last function that takes place is comes from the grinder plate, and that function is called shred meat. And if we go to the grinder plate, the function definition of shred meat simply states that the meat is being forced through the grinder plate and dropping into the catch pan. Going back to our test file, we've now got down towards the bottom. All of our function calls are done, and at the end we simply make a final statement that says we have now turned raw meat into ground meat. And at this point, we're at the end of our program, and we will run it once more.
This is the ending solution of our meat grinder project. Producers are Josh Davidson,
Joel Frank.
And Rodney Boer.
Our video was made in computer science and networking, data abstraction, and data structure.
Rodney Crater is our instructor at Northwest Iowa Community College.